everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Sunday. Hopefully you guys are doing well, enjoying your weekend. This is going to be the astro weather for the month ahead for the astrological transits of December of 2023. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below so you're alerted as to when we have new videos coming out on the channel. Give me a thumbs up and drop me a comment, especially if you are a first-time subscriber. Let me know where you're tuning in from and which of these transits you're looking forward to the most. A number of things taking place this month. So first and foremost, this is the general forecast. We're going to be talking about some of the planetary movement, what it means for all of us collectively. But if you want to know how this is impacting you personally, go back on over to my YouTube channel, go to the main page and look up my December 2023 horoscopes. I take it through all of the 12 signs and I talk about most of the most important transits for each of the 12 signs. I talk about your chart ruler, I talk about the lunations, the retrograde, all that stuff to help you kind of better plan the month ahead. Also, I hope you guys are joining me for my New Year's Day 2024 astrology extravaganza. We're gonna be doing a live show that's gonna be a private link on YouTube. For those of you guys who wanna pick up tickets to this event, it's on sale. It's $11.11. You guys can make that donation by purchasing a ticket and making it possible for me to present this several-hour presentation. It's really going to be a webinar, to be honest with you guys, all about what 2024 has in store for us. We've got some really big energies that are going to be taking place. So I hope you guys join me to take a look at the year in advance. There's going to be something for everybody, both talking about some of these world themes that are going to be shifting, but also how it's going to be impacting the 12 signs. So if you guys caught that video that I've done in recent years, very similar to that, we're just going to be making it private this time because unfortunately, just with the cost of everything and putting it together, it's a little bit more challenging. So I hope you guys will join us. And then finally, if you guys would like to head over to my website to pick up those tickets, make sure you join my newsletter. I won't spam you, don't worry. It's just so that way we can kind of stay in touch via email and I'll be able to send you information on up and coming courses that I'll be having on my website. I teach astrology as well as tarot. I also have my private one-on-one booking calendar there. So if you want to get a reading or you want to gift a reading, do consider signing up for that. You guys can see my availability, which is beginning in February, and we have some really awesome 2024 calendars. So if you want to pick up a calendar for next year, check out the calendar that I have. I have a digital calendar as well as a wall calendar as well. All right, so getting into this month, so we're going to take a look at obviously the month at a glance. Kind of the major talking points for this month obviously is going to be the Mercury retrograde. So we're going to experience a Mercury retrograde. As you guys are watching this, we are already in the shadow. So you have already started feeling some of the effects of this. It'll actually be starting in Capricorn and it's going to turn retrograde and return back to the sign of Sagittarius. For me, I feel like this is really about making our dreams a reality. We're both going to see some really beneficial aspects where Mercury will be making contacts with Jupiter, where we can actually physically get better organized, prepare, get our finances together, and get work done. We will also see, while Mercury is in Sagittarius in its fall, several very confusing squares to Neptune. So towards the second half of the month, it can be more challenging for communication. Not just because Mercury is retrograde, which already kind of complicates communication and, gadgets or traveling. But the square to Neptune is particularly pesky. And I feel like it's going to leave the door open for a lot of misunderstandings, things that go missing, and also possibly some challenges to air travel. I do think that that's something that we might see. Mutable square challenges as well. In the midst of that Mercury retrograde, we're going to see Mercury and Mars meet up. In my opinion, it's a bit bittersweet because I feel like the Mercury-Mars conjunction is about re-evaluating what we're passionate about and where we can be more optimistic when it comes to taking action in our lives. It is about kind of moving through the sludge when we see these squares that are taking place to both Saturn as well as Neptune and Pisces. So just be mindful that this is really trying to help us kind of see the silver lining in things, be optimistic. But there is plenty of blind spots the second half of the month. So I really do recommend, as you're watching this, even though we're in the shadow, try to get your Mercury retrograde stuff done early, whether that's getting your holiday shopping done or your travel planning done. Make sure you save all of your receipts, especially for travel related things. I also recommend saving receipts, backing up hard drives, making sure that you're saving gift receipts for other people for stuff that you might be kind of giving. Because obviously with retrogrades, we have to go back. We have to reevaluate or reassess or reorganize or revamp something. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we kind of get through the month. Also, Pluto will return to 29 degrees this month. Yay! Obviously, sarcasm there, but difficult degree to have Pluto at. Pluto will actually be returning to Aquarius in the new year, and we'll spend a mass majority of 2024, about 9 months in the sign of Aquarius. So when planets get to the last degrees of a sign, it's at an anaretic degree, which means it's kind of like now or never, do or die. There is a sense of pressure. So you want to take a look at where Capricorn is in your chart. Capricorn is all about long-term goals and our reputation or what we're working hard to achieve. It's been a really active part of the skies in recent years, really since about 2020, as we saw a stellium of planets conjuncting Capricorn, and we've been kind of rebuilding something ever since then. So Pluto will hit that degree on the 19th. So there is something that is getting wrapped up, some long-standing issue with power or control or something that you're trying to transform that is kind of trying to wrap up this month. So you're going to feel the intensity with Pluto hitting that. And then Jupiter goes direct, so that's going to be really exciting. We're going to see that towards the end of the month. That's going to bring us lots of goodies, lots of opportunity to tap into abundance, to be more optimistic, and also to bring forth some of the blessings that we had from the most recent lunar eclipse in Taurus. So that's the eclipse that just keeps on giving. We're actually going to see Jupiter at 5 degrees of Taurus for about a month. So some of those storylines revolving around what we're growing, what we are focusing on building, what we possess, and some of our financial kind of themes are still kind of unfolding because it's stationing basically at the degree that we had the eclipse at. And then finally, we're going to see Mars enter its exaltation in Capricorn, and it's time to get stuff done. I don't know about you guys, but I personally have been really looking forward to this transit. I know that Mars in Scorpio was really great for making some big emotional changes and transformations. It's been wonderful for also helping us kind of purge and clear stuff out. Obviously, Mars in Sagittarius has all of us feeling a little spicy and probably a little adventurous, so that's been fun as well. But when Mars, the ruler of the North Node in Aries, moves into Capricorn, we are going to see the opportunity really to just get so much stuff done. So once again, the Capricorn area of your chart is going to get lit up. That North Node in Aries is ruled by Mars. So wherever Mars goes is kind of where we are doing some kind of work towards building into our collective growth. And so eventually, you will see towards the end of that transit some squares to Chiron, some squares to the nodes, a conjunction to Pluto. Mars is moving through a 3/4 square aspect. So it's like all of the work that we're having to get done, all of the heavy lifting. This also represents like overcoming some of the themes really since the solar eclipse in Aries that we saw the spring of this year. Once again, bittersweet. So we love to see Mars in this particular sign. I think it's going to get a lot of stuff done. And towards the end of that transit, we are going to start to see some pressure where we're really being expected to show up in the world, take responsibility, and really focus on our future goals. So I'm loving that for just feeling more productive, I think, in the month ahead. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to take you transit by transit, give you some of my food for thought on how some of these things might be playing out. And I kind of feel like I think this is like going to be like a December to remember. In all honesty, I was trying to create that for my sign, but did not have enough ease to make that happen today. Unfortunately, I gotta buy some more vowels. But yeah, December to remember. I almost sound like the Toyota sales event. I promise you I'm not selling you a car. I'm trying to sell you guys on how I think magical this month can really be. You know, when I think about December and, you know, some of the energies that are shaping up the first half of the month in Sagittarius, while some of the squares to Neptune can be confusing, the trines that are taking place to the North Node are really fabulous. So we want to work with these fire trines. As you guys are watching this morning, when you wake up, the moon is in the sign of Leo. So today is a good example of how some of these fire trines work. When we see planets that sync up into trines, there's free flowing energy, which means like things actually happen. We can get stuff done, or we can see some kind of change or movement. And aspects like this to the North Node means we're aligning with destiny. So when we've got the moon here and the North Node and planets moving through Sagittarius, we are experiencing a fire trine. It started yesterday, so maybe you noticed this shift really since Saturday night, but you will see this throughout the first half of this month, where Mars and also the Sun are linking up with the North Node. I encourage you guys to spend this month learning, right? Expanding your horizons, really focusing on how far you can go in terms of your, personal pursuits, your educational pursuits, expanding your philosophy on the world, learning something, traveling. That's what we want to do when we see planets going through Sagittarius. And as these planets sync up with the North Node, it's helping us better develop who we are, who we're becoming. That North Node in Aries is all about the rebirth of something new. Since we've come out of eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus, we've done a lot of shifts in regards to our values, our resources. We've shed a lot of skin, and Aries is about basically being born. It's the first sign of the zodiac. So as you're moving through this particular month, I want you guys to be thinking in the back of your mind, what new things am I initiating in 2024? How do I want to look? How do I want to feel? Where do I want to be? This is the month where you really benefit from picking up a good book that can help you do that, working with a mentor, taking a course, just learning something to help you be better prepared for that kind of like caterpillar to butterfly kind of transition that we're going to have in the spring of 2024. Now, something that we saw on December 1st, so as you guys are watching this, it's already happened, but Mercury is now in Capricorn. It's in shadow, so the shadow is actually going to be from 8 degrees of Capricorn back to about 22 degrees of Sagittarius. So if you have any planets that are in the path of that, the first part of Capricorn and the last bit of Sag, Mercury will be retrograding through that. So it might manifest as like rearranging, reworking something, fixing something, going back to something, changing your mind. It depends on the house and the planets that are involved. But basically, Mercury is already in shadow. So we'll see the Mercury retrograde that's going to start on the 13th. But there is some sense of us starting to feel the effects of the Mercury retrograde already. Now, by the time Mercury gets into Capricorn, it's about replacement, in my opinion. This is a Saturn-based sign. Mercury's been in a sextile to Saturn, so we're really focusing on our goals and what we can get done out in the world. Mercury in Capricorn is about timelines. It's about commitment. It's about planning when it comes to our future, career-related things or our reputation or our responsibilities. So that sextile to Saturn is basically saying through a little bit of organization, we can better commit, set boundaries, meet timelines, or let things go. Now, as Mercury continues to go through Capricorn, it will make several trines to Jupiter. First, you'll see a trine between Mercury and Jupiter while Jupiter's retrograde. So there's still something being worked on in terms of resources or abundance. And then on the back end, when the retrograde starts, you're going to see Mercury that's going to be retrograde and it's going to trine Jupiter, which will be direct. And then finally, you'll see the third trine between them in January. Essentially, in my mind, the days that Mercury is trining Jupiter are better days to communicate. If you have to sign a contract, if you have to buy airplane tickets somewhere, if you have to have a meeting, if you're trying to move, right? These are days that are going to be better because I think that, Mercury connecting with Jupiter is about kind of enlightenment or some kind of positive event or some kind of good news. So you'll see that coming up basically at the beginning part of the month. All right, so today on December 3rd, we've got Venus in the sign of Libra. It's kind of wrapping up its trek through this particular sign where it's really been focusing on relationships, balance, and diplomacy. Venus is creating a square to Pluto. So there is some sense of challenging authority, challenging old power structures, challenging some kind of old routine way of doing things. Venus is in its ruling sign, so it does have some kind of oomph in that sense. But yeah, when we see the square, there's definitely some power struggles in relationships or with our relationships to superiors or elders. And some challenges with relationships or with money. So maybe you guys have been feeling that since yesterday. This is an important transit because obviously Venus rules the South Node. So it's got a little bit more of a breaking with the past, letting go of things that may not necessarily feel loving type of vibe. I keep reminding people that love cannot be conditional, and that's really important with Venus in the South Node in conjunction this week. That we're learning that, you know, if something isn't feeling like it's real, if something is not supporting us, if it's not supporting our growth, if it's not giving us some sense of freedom, if we feel like there is trappings or strings attached to stuff, then the Venus square Pluto is definitely going to be bringing that up. So watch for the tiffs. I think, you know, with partnerships today, you might be feeling that into tomorrow as well. Obviously, those who are going to feel that a little bit more strongly are going to be my Venus and Pluto ruled people. So, you know, Taurus and Libra risings and Scorpio risings, you guys are feeling this pretty strongly. Just after that square, then on the 4th, we're going to see Venus enter into Scorpio. All right, so Venus is moving through Scorpio, and it's moving through a sign that's ruled by Pluto or Mars. It's in its fall. So maybe you guys caught that video where I talked about the Scorpion's kiss. The positive is that right when Venus moves into this fixed water sign, it starts forming a trine with Saturn. So if you follow the storyline of, like, you know, eclipses in Libra conjunct the South Node, breaking with old relationship patterns, learning not to be you know, complacent, learning not to be indecisive, making changes with some of our relationships. Then we saw Venus conjunct the South Node. So there is a sense of tapping into the past, but also becoming aware of where we get too comfortable. And then we see Venus square Pluto. So there's been like this breakdown that's been going on of, like, maybe relationship values. Maybe there's been changes with, you know, what we fall back on for security or for balance. And so now when planets go through Scorpio, it's about going through a change or a transformation. So this ingress has a pretty big significant, you know, like effect on anything that is ruled by Venus. So Venus going into Scorpio is saying, okay, we're, you know, finally doing the clearing out in regards to relationship past. You know, Venus's connection to Taurus is about major changes in regards to our physical resources, banking systems, things in regards to our personal kind of possessions. And you guys will see some stuff get kind of kicked up here when Venus starts opposing some of these placements. But I like that Venus starts forming a trine with Saturn. You're going to be seeing that pretty much right off the bat. It looks like that trine is going to happen around 1 degree. So we'll get that on the 5th. And this is a nice day, even though Venus is in its fall. This is a nice day for commitments, especially for matters of the heart. So Venus trine Saturn is basically combining that sense of change and transformation in relationships and Saturn's willingness in Pisces to be compassionate, understanding, reflective, commitment-oriented. And this is a water trine. So it is possible that it's not always the day that people decide to get married or to propose or, you know, to commit in a relationship. It might mean more, you know what, I'm realizing and recognizing that this is not healthy, or this is not best for me, or this no longer has some kind of value. And the willingness to release it, let it go, donate it, set it free, right? Get it out emotionally. So I think we're going to see it kind of play out a little bit differently. But watch for that opportunity to heal and also release something and commit and have much more of a sense of a stronger value, maybe with love and money on the 5th. Now, on the 6th of the month, we're going to see Neptune go direct. And that is going to be nice to see both Neptune and Saturn direct, honestly, because, I feel like having had both of these planets retrograde has definitely had some stuff kind of like lurking in the shadows. Have you guys felt that? While Saturn was retrograde, there was this sense of being like, okay, well, we don't really see what's going on in the world. And then boom, Saturn goes direct. And then we start seeing this reemergence of, this echo chamber of certain places in the world talking about returning back to some sense of like limitation, right? I think you guys get what I'm saying. That's very Saturn and Pisces. That's kind of like, well, there's this thing that might be happening in another place. And, does it make sense to return to, certain health precautions? But we don't know. Neptune energies, Pisces, is confusing. It's invisible. So now the things that have been kind of lurking behind the scenes that while Saturn has been retrograde is visible. Well, on the 6th, we're going to see Neptune go direct at 24 degrees, which is a very Neptunian degree. It has a double kind of connection to Pisces. And we might start to see that there is disclosures. We might start to see that there is information coming out about stuff. Obviously, Pisces deals with the oceans. It deals with prisons, mental health, things in regards to hospitals. And so with Saturn being structures and Neptune being things that are more mystical, magical, or like sensitive, these could be also about art. So this can be a time where we could see that some of our creative endeavors or some of our goals are starting to manifest and like really start to become visible. But while Neptune has been retrograde, maybe there's been a sense of us not being totally aware of where we're self-sabotaging, or we haven't been seeing the blockages, or we are not conscious and aware of what's being kind of hidden and withheld. This is going to be a Sagittarius season for the books. You guys will see this towards the end of the month as planets are starting to come into a square with Neptune, and then we see the retrogrades. What I will say is that Neptune really wants to dissolve something, or it wants to kind of, wrap something up, especially as now it's getting towards the later degrees. We're going to see Neptune in its direct fashion move closer and closer to the end degrees of Pisces. I think it's going to hit 29 degrees here in 2024. So basically, it's trying to dissolve something in regards to the area of Pisces, but it's almost like Saturn is holding on by a string, and it's saying like, no, we can hold this, don't let this go. So with both of these planets direct, you might feel like a sense of being super focused in this area of your life, really committed, or you're trying to learn how to, kind of better structure something. And then Neptune is like out to lunch, sleeping, it's eating, it's drinking, so you might notice that that particular house of Pisces, it's like you swing between one or the other. Let me know. That's how I've been kind of experiencing it. But while Neptune is direct, it's no longer clouding our inner sense of awareness or knowing. We're less confused internally. Now, as it goes direct, we're kind of like, okay, we've had time to work through this. We've been trying to figure out the emotions, or trying to figure out what all is going on. And now we have, I think, more capability of being able to kind of move through the fog. But as we get into this next 2 years, 2024 and 2025, Saturn and Neptune are getting closer and closer together. And they're going to do this right at the tail end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries. So it's almost like that whole area of your life, maybe we think that we understand what's going on. Maybe we think we know how to structure something. But we will, I think, eventually decide, actually, this isn't working. We're going to scrap it. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to clear this out. So try to kind of straddle the line here in Pisces land in your chart. You don't want to be too loosey-goosey, and you don't want to be too kind of strict and focusing too much on trying to kind of control which way this is going to go, because the truth is that something about this is going to change. All right, so then we've got on the 7th, this is the first of what will be 3, although you're only going to see 2 of these this month. But on the 7th, you're going to see Mercury trine Jupiter. And so this is what I was saying when I told you guys that Mercury will be direct, although it's in shadow, and it will trine Jupiter, which is retrograde, okay? So Mercury, it's about communication, technology, travel, movement, letters, text messages, emails, meetings. This is especially kind of businessy because it's in the sign of Capricorn. Out in the world, it might manifest as like, government negotiations, talks, major kind of information or news breaking in regards to leaders, or, the direction of where certain governments are going in regards to money and budgeting. I think it's going to very much be about that. Hearing from, corporate leaders and, presidents and CEOs about some kind of news that's getting ready to break about the global patterns with finances, right? Jupiter in Taurus. Now, Jupiter is retrograde. So it means that whatever global trend is going on, it's still getting worked out. It has yet to be revealed. Usually when we experience a Mercury retrograde, some information comes up that we weren't aware of, or it kind of gets dug up or exposed, or we remember something in a dream. But the bottom line is that this is the day that you want to mark. It'll be this day. And let's see, there's another one. And the 18th, okay? So the 7th of December and the 18th. These are the two best communication days in my mind all month long. So Mercury trine Jupiter is about being optimistic and also being really professional about managing or handling something that involves your professional life or money or signing a contract or a negotiation. Now, this is going to be trining at a 6. So this is definitely like if you have a client-based business, or if you're wanting to make decisions about health, organization, staffing, scheduling, that kind of stuff, this is the time that you want to do that. And it's also wonderful for agreeing to and signing to contracts. This is one of those situations where I would tell people that even though we're in the shadow, if you absolutely have to do something, I recommend doing it this day. Signing the lease, buying the car, doing whatever you have to do. Granted, okay, do your due diligence, read the fine print, make sure you have the house looked at before you buy it, take the car to the mechanic before you buy something, that kind of stuff. But still, you can't go wrong with communication with this day, because it does look very positive, and Mercury is in a sign also that's about responsibility. All right, so then we're gonna go to December 9th. And on the 9th, we're going to see Venus in Scorpio oppose Jupiter in Taurus. This is definitely going to be a transit that you're going to feel regardless of, if you have any planets in these degrees or signs, for a number of reasons. One is when Mars does something, because it's connected to the North Node, which affects all of our collective growth and direction, we feel it. When Venus does something, whether it's squaring or it's opposing, or maybe it gets triggered with the moon, which it will on the 9th, this is going to be a situation where you're going to see that, we're going to be feeling the effects of the South Node, which is about breaking apart, separating, or seeing some sense of not being able to keep the peace. So Venus is about love and harmony and relationships and values and pleasure, but also it's about luxury. And Venus is moving through a sign that is about needing more, or feeling like she's not getting enough, or feeling like her needs maybe aren't being met. In the sign of Scorpio, she can be afraid to open up because there is this fear of vulnerability. And it's going through a sign that can be associated with secrets. This is also, Scorpio deals with taxes, inheritances. It deals with interest rates and loans and debt. Make a note, okay? December 9th is like not the day to be going on a credit card splurge. It's not the day to be opening up something because you want to get flex payments and you're willing to pay the interest, because the interest will be killer. It's a time also that we want to be watching and paying attention to what is going on in the financial markets. Like I said, Venus rules the South Node, which is connected to losses. The moon will connect with Venus, which basically means we're really feeling some sense of fear or kind of like tension about money. And Venus will oppose Jupiter. So this is telling me that there's probably going to be some consumer spending reports that come out that's not good. There's probably going to be some word that's getting out that's like certain companies are starting to realize that they're actually having to cut back because there isn't enough people who are buying or spending. People can't afford it right now. This is also the day that you want to be really careful with borrowing and lending, because, Jupiter can make situations feel bigger, and Venus is the dispositor of Jupiter. So it's saying whatever sets Venus off, however Venus is not pleased or doesn't have enough or doesn't feel like her needs are met or really wants to indulge in something, it's going to maximize or make it feel bigger. So not the best day for borrowing, lending, for, you know, making big purchases. You might notice that there is like a significant up pricing going on with food, with travel, or interest rates. Then we're going to see on the 12th, we're going to have a new moon that's going to be in the sign of Sagittarius. And I like this new moon for a number of reasons. Maybe you guys caught that video. I put it out already. For me, I think the big one is that we've got a new moon that's in conjunction to Mars, and Mars is in a fire sign. So new moons are about setting new intentions. It's about goals, where we're going, where we see ourselves in 6 months' time. And this particular new moon is going to be in conjunction to Mars in Sagittarius, which is kind of lighting a fire underneath our butts. It'll get reactivated when Mars hits 20 degrees after this new moon, where we push forward with some of our goals and what we're hoping to achieve. And if you guys caught that video, I talked about how I looked at how this, this new moon evolves into a full moon in the spring of 2024, and the Jupiter-Venus conjunction, because Venus rules Sagittarius, will be at 29 degrees of Taurus. So aim for the stars, guys, or as big as you can go. This is about being really optimistic, really action-oriented, really enthusiastic about what you're able to achieve. We've got trines happening to the North Node, which is ruled by Mars. So it's basically saying the more we learn, the more we grow, the more that we connect with people who can kind of inspire us and teach us and lead us, the better that we're going to be. And it really pays to be well educated over the next 6 months. And so whether this means that you decide to go and teach something that you know how to do professionally, you start taking an online course, maybe you buy like a book series and you're teaching yourself how to like do something. Jupiter is the ruler and it's retrograde, but it's the ruler and it is getting ready to go direct about 2 weeks later. Jupiter's in the sign of what? Food, seeds, resources, land. I think if enough people go and spend the next 6 months learning about self-sustainability, learning about the future of food and also gardening, how to be self-sufficient, getting more involved in the global discussion about food and health, the better off we're all going to be. I guess I would say the wealthier you're going to be, but wealth is really going to be, the way that we look at wealth is really going to change over the next couple of years. But I look at this and I go, yeah, like, me personally, like on my list of things to do, what I'm doing over the holiday season is like, I want to start getting like a seed vault together. I want to start saving some seeds and putting some stuff together and learning more about planting in the seasons with where I'm living. That's what I'm going to be doing for this new moon. But I also feel like the trines to the North Node are going to be about activity and action and like what we're doing on a personal level. So work with this new moon to set intentions, even though you're going to see it be in the Sagittarius area of your chart. The sweetness is going to come the spring of next year, somewhere between Taurus and Gemini. You're going to see some kind of growth. And for those of you guys who are really interested in like investing, it means that if you do a little research on global trends, you might be able to kind of figure out what to invest in now that might be very lucrative in 2024. All right, so then when we get to the 13th, and this is what's crazy, look at this. So then it's like hours later because Mercury is basically stationing. It's at 8 degrees. Hours after this new moon, Mercury goes retrograde. So all the more reason, like when a planet is stationing to go retrograde or direct, usually something's happening. Obviously, this is a new moon in Sag, so we're focusing more on Sagittarius and Jupiter, but Mercury is second house to Sagittarius. So it's basically saying there's some kind of news that's getting ready to break about our money, what we're investing in, possibly even about, some of our goals and like needing to work on self-esteem matters in order to kind of bring some of these intentions to fruition. The Mercury retrograde in general, I have not done a video on that. That's something I'm going to be doing, I think, in the next week for you guys. But I did do Mercury, I think, through Sagittarius up until like the retrograde point. Essentially, when Mercury turns retrograde, like I said, things slow down. We see that there's more delays on the street. We can notice that, bags go missing at the airport, computers can crash. We see that we have issues with cars. Phones can glitch, social media has problems, emails go missing. You guys get the drill. So basically, like, Mercury going retrograde is not necessarily a bad thing because we have this 3 times a year. It's kind of like cleaning out the fridge. You have to do that in order to make sure that everything is clean and kind of like fully functioning and organized, right? So Mercury turning retrograde in the sign of Capricorn means a lot of people towards the end of December are going to be reflecting on their jobs. They're reflecting on their career. Sometimes retrogrades can represent a slowdown, right? Slowing down and looking at where we've been, right? What's been going on in the Capricorn area of our life. We might be organizing, rearranging, moving something around, putting labels on stuff, cleaning it up. And Capricorn is definitely about long-term goals planning. It's about superiors. I do think that we are going to see some kind of talk about a slowdown or a shutdown of things revolving around, local or federal government. It's pretty common with this retrograde. But I also feel like this is things getting slower or them like moving more slowly when it comes to getting stuff done at the tail end of the year. It's pretty common, right? We all go to work, the middle part of December and everybody's just kind of mentally already on holiday break. So we might feel like we're not as productive or getting stuff done. But what I like about this retrograde, like I said, is that it's going to make several trines to Jupiter. So I encourage you guys to use this retrograde to be thinking about how you can be better with timelines, right? Saturn is connected to Capricorn. It rules time. How you can be more productive. If you are going into the end of this year and maybe you're getting reviews done and holiday bonuses and all kinds of things, I think the Mercury retrograde trine Jupiter, some people might be really surprised to find out that they get decent reviews and that they're getting gifts and they're getting bonuses for, work that's been well done. But I also feel like some people are going to feel disgruntled with their job, right? Pluto at 29 degrees, Mercury going retrograde. Some people might be like, man, I don't want to be in this job next year. What's my game plan? Where am I going? And we're going to see Mercury drop back down into Sagittarius. I think a lot of people are going to be looking for jobs elsewhere. I think a lot of people are going to be considering going back to school. Obviously to each their own, however this manifests for you. I think Sagittarius season is about learning in general. It doesn't matter what you're learning. It's more the house is going to represent, what you're supposed to be kind of reworking. I definitely feel like with Mercury retrograde, trine the North Node, the truth is that some of the businesses that are going to be the most productive over the next year and a half are going to be Aries related things. Okay. So we're going to see like probably a complete revamping of physical fitness and coaching and like wellness, maybe gyms. Maybe we're going to see stuff in regards to self-defense, martial arts, people who are maybe ex-military who are doing some kind of work with self-defense or, physical stuff. I also feel like trade jobs, things that are physically demanding. We're entering into an era where a lot of our jobs are potentially looking at being replaced by computers and AI. But there are some things that you cannot use AI for. And whether you're an artisan and you're somebody who works for yourself independently and maybe you bake bread or you sculpt or you sew or you weave things, maybe you are somebody who is an iron worker and you work with your hands and you build and you create things that are custom. I'm going to encourage everybody who's looking to make a change in education to look at trade jobs. Go and specialize in something that a computer cannot do or something that people are going to pay for that they specifically want to have custom made. After all, Aries does rule iron and metal. So I think we're going to see lots of opportunities for that type of work, but that could branch into like so much more than just that. It could be plumbing. It could be, all kinds of stuff. I also think that, some type of agricultural work and also like electricians, IT work, obviously can also be positive with some of the stuff going down over here as well. If you're somebody who's also looking for like a career consultation reading, if you're like, what would I be good at? Like that's something that I do. I do that in my general one-on-one readings. I've had a lot of people really since Saturn entered Capricorn come to me and go like, I hate my job. What should I be doing? So if that's something that you guys need insight in, definitely hit me up for that. But the retrograde starts on the 13th, which means I'm hoping that you guys did your work prior to this and you monopolized on the Mercury trine Jupiter on the 7th and you were prepared before Mercury turned retrograde. All right, so then on the 18th of the month, so we've got a couple days in between, we're going to see the second Mercury trine Jupiter. Okay, this time it'll be at a 5. and Mercury's retrograde and Jupiter's retrograde. So it's almost like Mercury's returning back and going, hold on a second, what do I want to invest in? What do I believe in? What am I building? And it's going to be similar to whatever you saw with the first trine. So this is the second one, but because they're both retrograde, there's a sense of still going through the process of reworking something. What I do like, though, is that when we have the 18th, the moon's conjunct Saturn, it's sextiling Mercury, which means I think we have to sit, meditate, and reflect on what we do or do not really need. And then we're going to have this moon Saturn that's also sextiling Jupiter. So when in doubt, take time to pause, reflect, think it through, really ask yourself, do I need this? Do I want this? Been watching like a lot of different reports and stuff on YouTube. I'm a little distressed, to be honest with you, because there's been about 2 or 3 people that I have followed pretty religiously over the last couple of years who are being deplatformed for frankly just coming out and telling the truth about what's going on in the world. They don't practice astrology. These are just independent journalists and people that I follow and that I support, who are now having to jump platforms. Maybe I'm thinking so much of the Mercury retrograde and the trine to Jupiter is that people are moving and going in directions or investing their time, right? Because Capricorn can be time, or their business, or maybe their their platforms to places where they feel like they have more freedom, right? That's one way that I look at this. I also feel like this is going to be about people starting to kind of tap in about what's going on with some of the financial predictions that are coming. Obviously, you're not going to hear a lot about this in December because they want people to spend money. They want to see consumers out there shopping, buying stuff. But I've noticed a shift in the last month where a lot of people who were saying, yeah, we're going to have a soft landing, it'll be fine, the beginning of 2024, we'll be fine. And then I started hearing in the last 2 months, okay, well, maybe we're going to have like a recession is coming. I've got, clients and friends and other people who have family in the banking industry sending me videos and emails being like, hey, people are talking about some wave of, challenges with the economy in the new year, which it doesn't take a scientist or a rocket scientist or an astrologer to kind of realize, what's coming. And now I'm starting to hear people going, yeah, they're saying it's going to be a recession, but we're already kind of feeling it. And if we're on the brink of this now, could it be a depression? I'm not going to speculate, but I will tell you that when Mercury goes retrograde and it starts trining Jupiter, it is possible that there's going to be some kind of information that is starting to kind of trickle into the media that's about the reality of, what direction this is going in. The retrograde really kind of works in a way where, Mercury has to go into the other sign, kind of dip in, kind of suss that out, and then come back. And because Mercury is going to go into Sagittarius, it's going to be based off of global events, right? Foreign events, things that are going on in other places. Reflecting on, well, this is happening in this country, Sagittarius. Sagittarius is like Spain, Australia, South America, some of the countries that are kind of being lit up right now. So as it retrogrades, it means that something is slowing down about control, something is slowing down about leadership, something is slowing down about business, and it's going into Sagittarius where we're going to start hearing about how this is happening in other places in the world because, being an American, sometimes Americans can be super self-focused, like, okay, well, we live in this bubble. But the reality is that if shit's going to hit the fan, especially economically, we're going to start to see it in places like Europe, and other parts of the world, and then it will start to kind of come to the United States. So it really pays to kind of know with what's going on economically in other places, especially because this transit will trine Jupiter, so it can help you better make decisions. I would assume that for many of us going into this holiday season, this is happening in mid-December, we're already kind of going like, well, what am I having to cut back or do with less of in order to be able to afford this or buy gifts or travel? And I really want you guys to think about some of your expenses when you get to this transit. Really be asking yourself. I find myself, I'm in the middle of moving right now. It's kind of just starting. So I'm already doing this and I'm experiencing the retrograde over my Venus. And it's trining Jupiter in my 8th house. And as I'm moving things, I'm like, do I really need this? Right? Even though some of the things are things that I love, I'm kind of taking this stance that's like, if I don't absolutely need it, if I haven't worn it in the last year, if I'm not using it, I'm going to donate it. Right? I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to recycle it. I try to donate things. I prefer to donate things than to throw things away. But that's how I'm kind of using this transit, to really kind of get into touch with what my values are and what I absolutely need and what's actually going to bring me the most value. And that's also kind of influencing, the way that I'm looking at, the holiday season and being like, well, do I really want to do X, Y, and Z? Okay, but I really need this. And kind of feeling more secure, I think, with some of these trines. And so it sounds silly, but, there are some things that people might be asking you, well, what do you want for the holidays? What can I get you as a gift? And a lot of people, have their eyes set on certain, physical, material things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when I think of Jupiter and Uranus, some of the most valuable things people can have next year are going to be garden beds. They are going to be how-to books. It's going to be books from your favorite preppers. It's going to be solar panels. It's going to be generators. And I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but like those are going to be the hot items next year. So rather than opting for the Birkin bag or the brand new car in your driveway or the expensive vacation, I would say get real about the things that you want to feel safe, stable, and secure in 2024. Saving food, investing in metals, self-defense. I know I sound crazy, but come back here in about 6 months' time. You guys will see when you see my videos that some of these things are going to be hot commodities, and it pays to be prepared. So as you're going through these trines to Jupiter, ask yourself, do I really value this thing? Do I need this? And if I don't, can I get rid of it? Because you guys might also be able to sell things and strike a deal, and it could be like a win-win situation. All right, so then on the 21st, we're going to see Venus in Scorpio oppose Uranus in Taurus. This is one that you want to pull out your big red Sharpie and you want to circle this date, because we have Venus, which is obviously at a 19, so this is very relationship-oriented this day. And Venus will oppose Uranus. I give it a couple days, actually. I think you'll feel this for a couple days. When the moon drops into Taurus, we'll feel this as well. But when Venus stands in 180 degrees opposition from Uranus, Uranus wants freedom. Uranus wants to break apart. It wants to change. It wants to electrify. It wants to rebel, go against the grain. And Venus wants to have stability. She wants pleasure. So she's already kind of triggered, right? Being in Scorpio, where there can be trust issues, or there can be paranoia, or there can be fear. But as she starts opposing Uranus at 19 degrees, this is the day where I definitely feel like you're going to see some relationship strife, where there is some breaking apart or separations or breaking off or kind of clearing something out. And I think what's also coming to mind is that you're going to see a moon quincunx Venus as well. So there's definitely some stuff going on here where there is some breakdown or shocks or surprises or disappointments in relationships, or people who, have a shocking surprise that kind of comes out of the blue. Sometimes these oppositions can be like, oh, somebody surprised me with lunch, or my partner got me a gift and I didn't see it coming, or this or that. But I don't think it's going to be as positive with Venus in her fall. I do feel like this can be a lot of people who are not always seeing eye to eye about how money is spent or resources or values. Some people who can have some tiffs or some conflicts over checking your spouse's credit card statement or recognizing how much money has been spent on something. So you want to be mindful that there can be shocks and surprises. Yet another day that I would kind of mind the relationships, try to kind of keep the peace. And I would not recommend doing anything crazy in regards to excess spending. On the 22nd of the month, we are going to see some really cool stuff happen. This is an interesting day. So the sun is going to enter into Capricorn. That's going to be on the 22nd. It looks like it's going to happen first thing in the morning, in the middle of the night. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are going to be celebrating the winter solstice. So this is going to be the marker basically for the next 3 months. Later in the month, I'll break this chart down, talk to you guys about it at length. But I've been looking at this a bit because, it's not only like the marker of a new season, but also this is where we are starting to experience the Mercury cazimi. So you'll see in the middle of the night is when the Capricorn season begins. But then a few hours later, the Mercury cazimi takes place in the morning of the 22nd. Mark this down, okay? So I know some of you guys, my little witch friends, you guys like to celebrate the solstices and the equinox. Obviously, a potent time for kind of hitting restart, for new beginnings. This is a very, very interesting day. I don't even know what day this falls on yet. I haven't really looked at my calendar, but I'm very excited to see what happens this day, because this is a marker for showing us basically where we're going up until the spring of 2024, when we're going to have the spring equinox, and that's the real New Year's, right? So, you've got the sun cazimi with Mercury. This tells me that there is some kind of information we're receiving, some kind of enlightenment. There's some kind of news coming in, some kind of change in direction in regards to our goals or our careers, our purpose in life. We've also got the moon and its exaltation in conjunction to Jupiter. Jupiter is getting ready to station. So this can be an indication of the more that we're rethinking about what our purpose is, why we're here, what we're hoping to do, how we can really show up out in the world and do our best work and kind of fall into the positions that we're meant to be doing, not just collecting a paycheck or just having a job, but like having something that we love, that we thrive in. The more that we're changing our mind about this, the more that we're able to tap into money, resources, abundance, and a total shift in our values. 0 degrees of the cardinal signs is a very potent degree. So generally, these are the markers, right, of the equinoxes and the solstices. But to have it with a cazimi is extra magical. And Mercury will go back and forth over this degree several times. So we'll see this on the back end also when Mercury's direct and it comes back, that there's some kind of news coming out about the government or about government jobs or about, what direction they're taking with Mercury related things, the service industry, health, anything in regards to, people who are in uniforms as well. I think that might come up, but some reorganization maybe, or some slowing down of certain departments. And then the trines to Jupiter and the moon, people may be more optimistic. I know this is only a moment in time, and some of the transits that we're going to see as we get closer to Christmas, honestly, are going to be a little challenging. But I'm hopeful that this gives us the opportunity to kind of really get our shift in order before we get to the spring next year. It's just a lot of us like asking ourselves, what am I willing to take responsibility for? What do I value? And how can I show up better for myself out in the world? And obviously the cazimi is that moment where, there is an epiphany or an aha. So I think with the trine to the moon is like focusing on our resources, our money, our self-esteem, tapping into that, into slow and logical and practical steps forward. We can be more mindful of how we're spending our time. All right, so then we're going to see on the 23rd, obviously, then Mercury is going to enter back into Sagittarius in its fall, and it gets a little wonky pretty much from here on out, okay? So it's like, fortunately, unfortunately, the cosmos wanted to serve us up a pretty gnarly Mercury retrograde during the holiday season. I've said this in previous videos, I'll say this again. The Mercury-Mars conjunction, okay, is spelling out trouble for me for airfare. Whether this is like confusion with tickets or things being oversold or there being delays because of weather. When we see conjunctions and squares in mutable signs, generally we see some kind of disturbances with weather. I believe, if I remember correctly, that there's supposed to be there's something going on with Neptune. I want to say it's like an oscillation of Neptune or something, but there's supposed to be like flooding that's supposed to take place the second half of December. Whether or not that happens, we'll see. But I will tell you, with planets that are squaring Neptune, it would not surprise me. Sagittarius deals with airplanes, foreign travel, education, like college campuses, professors, teaching, learning. And so these squares to Neptune might indicate, hold on a second, we've got some challenges. We've got some either shortages of people, shortages of staff. Maybe, we're trying to slow down with the retrograde with as many planes going out because there's some visibility issues. I know it's agitating to get delayed at an airport, but definitely just be mindful that some of these delays that might be taking place are for good reason. And if you know that you're going to have to be traveling, just be extra safe during your travels, especially, not just in the air, but if you're driving, things like that. And if you're in an area where there's going to be some extreme weather, particularly water or snow, really just keep your eyes out. Anyway, Mercury back in Sagittarius, where it's now reflecting on its dreams, its goals. It's wanting to rework, or it's returning back to what we believed in or what we thought we knew. There can be some kind of change or spin also with media or narratives happening. And Mercury is going to get closer and closer to Mars. Now, then we take this to the 26th. Although I almost missed a transit. On Christmas Day, the 25th, Mars will trine the North Node at 22 degrees. So whatever actions, whatever you're learning, whatever you're confident or optimistic about, whatever adventures you're going on, whatever you're sharing with other people is a part of that North Node in Aries. So it's about being more self-sufficient, active, confident, brave. At 22, I feel like this is a lot of people who are really feeling like, okay, I can get the job done. And I know that this is going to make some very determined people to go home for the holidays. But I will tell you guys still, please take your time. You know, Mars can be speed related. And when we have trines to the North Node, we also have sextiles to the South Node. So it means that we're optimistic about some changes in regards to our relationship habits. I think we're going to see a lot of people this holiday season that are opting to do something different, that are opting to kind of break with tradition and either spend it in different places or be celebrating at different families' houses, or just opting to go on vacation altogether. And that could be the retrograde in itself. Then we're going to see on the 26th, a full moon in Cancer. Okay, so this is going to be around 4 degrees. Obviously, Cancer is at home in its home sign. And yeah, having a full moon is showing us the complexity in the polarity between home, mother, family, past, and also the top part of the chart, which is Capricorn. I think, you know, just obviously it's different if you guys live in the Southern Hemisphere, if you're in Australia. I understand you guys are the opposite of us, but any which way you slice it, a full moon here is going to show you the effects between these two areas of life. So here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's like the sun is in Capricorn and, you know, it's shining a light on tradition and, you know, how we've always done things and, you know, being with elders. And then the moon is in its home sign at home. And so it's always been interesting to me that this full moon always lands somewhere around Christmas time, right around the time that we're kind of doing all this stuff. I like that the moon is in a trine to Saturn, and that means that we're staying, or we're feeling grounded, or we're feeling kind of committed. We're reflective, we're sensitive, we might feel a little more tapped in. And also Saturn is in a sextile to the sun. So we see some more positive aspects with this full moon than most. However, that pesky Mercury-Mars square Neptune is definitely building. By a degree, Mercury is actually squaring Neptune. So miscommunications galore, misunderstandings. Full moons can definitely have people in their feelings, but this is especially true with the full moon in the sign of Cancer. So I can see people being a little bit more sensitive, especially with this being at 4 degrees. Sensitive about the past, reflecting on the past and what's kind of been let go of. So try to remain, you know, open-hearted, compassionate, understanding. Watch for those miscommunications and misunderstandings, because that definitely is a theme. Then we're going to see on the 27th of the month, in my mind, this is both one of the most challenging, but also one of the most interesting days all month long. And it's kind of a build-up because, you know, the full moon, you're going to keep feeling until the moon leaves Cancer. Before it leaves Cancer, it's got to oppose Pluto. But we're going to see so many things happen this day. So first things first, you know, the Mercury-Neptune square was kind of built into the full moon on the 26th. So that can be about being confused, feeling lost in translation, not seeing eye to eye about religion, spirituality, culture, or just feeling kind of lost and finding it difficult to communicate. But this is also about intentional misrepresentation. This can be about lying. This can be about deceit and manipulation. Then we're going to see the sun in Capricorn that's going to trine Jupiter. So this is about, I think, staying focused on our goals and taking the high road. I think that's really what this is about. The sun trines Jupiter, twice a year. So we saw the sun do this in Virgo, but I think this was more about maybe showing up and doing the work and kind of rolling our sleeves up during Virgo season. That was an interesting season. There's definitely a lot of having to come to terms with, getting out of our own way and setting up better patterns and habits. Now in Capricorn with the sun trine Jupiter, I feel like because of all of the hard work that we're doing, maybe we're feeling like, okay, we're finally starting to hit some of our goals. We're feeling much more abundant and kind of grounded. So lucky day on tap with the sun trine Jupiter. Miscommunications galore with the Mercury square Neptune. And then to also add another layer of complexity, we are going to see Mercury come retrograde and come into contact with Mars. So it's like, one thing I will say is that from pretty much December 24th through this conjunction on the 27th, 28th, Mercury is conjunct the galactic center. Okay, those degrees of Sagittarius. And basically this is like where we download and receive messages and consciousness from the cosmos, if you believe in that stuff. This is obviously like, an area of outer space way out there where it connects all of us to, I think, the heart of the ethers. It's confusing because of the squares to Neptune, but I feel like there can be such enlightenment. There can be so many opportunities for downloads. I feel like it may not be something that is going to be logical. It may not necessarily be something you can read in a book. It may not necessarily be something that you can learn because of the squares to Neptune. We're kind of like, oh, this is like super esoteric and like beyond me. But it can be a song that you listen to that it just makes sense and it's healing. It could be a dream that you have where there's some really significant symbolism. It can be a download that you have. I don't know. I just know that Mercury conjunct Mars is like a mind on fire. And as Mercury is retrograding and conjuncting to Mars, which is all still trining the North Node, it's like, how can I go back and reflect on places I've been, things I've learned, mentors I've, connected with, a faith practice that I had. Do I go back to courses that I didn't finish? And this is going to be at a 24. Now, on the flip side, the darker side of this energy is, we could definitely see with Mercury, Mars in conjunction, lots of harsh words, conflict, people being rushed, people being more accident prone. We can also see that there is a sense of a returning narrative of, this is going on, or there's this conflict, or there's this potential for war, because Mars does rule these things. But I really feel like this is about all of us kind of learning that if collectively we're in this perpetual state of fear and we're, pushing this warmonger kind of mentality, we're keeping ourselves in a position of being separate and isolated from one another. We're keeping up this vibration of anger and tension, and we're not really breaking through. And whenever Mercury and Mars come into conjunction, it isn't an argumentative energy because you're taking the intellectual side of Mercury, and in this case, in its fall, so it's very preachy, in conjunction to Mars and Sagittarius, which is like, a lot of people pointing the fingers at each other, but not really realizing that this is almost being orchestrated. So such a complex day. I think the only way through this, in my opinion, is the sun trine Jupiter, which is instead of being reactionary, getting angry, retaliating, playing the blame game, getting all worked up over information that we may not be able to, validate, the sun trine Jupiter is like real leaders will lead, right? Because the sun can be about father figures and men, and it's the hero, and it's about, leaders and men and women, but older people in positions of power, Capricorn, will lead. And it'll be interesting to see who actually wants to lead by example and who wants to perpetuate the conflict and the drama. And I would encourage you guys, don't get sucked into it when this happens around the 27th. Take time to stop, see if you're getting messages or downloads from the cosmos. I have a really strong intuition that with this conjunction, this is going to be about a moment where all of us are going to have some kind of enlightenment. Then on the 28th, oops, there we go. On the 28th, we're going to see Mars in Sagittarius square Neptune in Pisces. Okay, so Mercury was squaring, which is like, where am I going? You know, misunderstanding, something being distorted, not being translated well, something being, you know, falsely misrepresented on screens. And then we've got Mars that's going to square Neptune. And this is more lower energy level, lower vitality, you know, challenges revolving around clarity with like health or movement. I mean, you know, I'm shooting this at the end, at the beginning of December. So I don't know, maybe you're watching it live, maybe you're watching this later in December, but I'm shooting this at the beginning of December as we're starting to hear about, you know, issues with this new issue, health-wise, that they're calling the white lung. They're saying that lots of like children in Asia are getting sick and they're having issues with pneumonia. And then apparently, I think they said it skipped over to like Denmark, and now we're hearing that it's coming up in parts of the East Coast here in the United States. And so, you know, when I think about Mars, which can be about fevers, it can also be about viruses, it can be about, about illness. Mars, you know, traditionally had associations with these things. Mercury is the lungs, right? Mercury is also, you know, in its fall and it's retrograde. So there's going to be, I believe, and it's already starting, a huge media campaign to scare everybody about what's going on. And like, it is flu season. It is. We're in colder weather here in the Northern Hemisphere. People get sick when the weather changes. These things happen. Saturn in Pisces is about the immune system, right? And all these planets are coming into conjunction retrograde, which means nobody really knows what they're talking about. Nobody. And it's squaring Neptune, which is like creating a lot of perpetual fear, okay? So what you guys want to be doing, because Jupiter is the dispositor of all of this craziness in, you know, super crazy mutable clown land. What does Jupiter represent? Knowledge and information and grounded practical solutions with what? Food, right? Minerals, physical goods, what you're eating, what supplements you're taking. Really, the catch here is that we can get super wrapped up about, oh no, there's another scare, and how is this going to be impacting travel, which I think a lot of people are going to respond that way. Or we can tap into, okay, what are we going to do about it? What do we have on hand, right? How can we be more mindful of what we're eating, what we're consuming? And so you got to love Venus in the last degrees of Scorpio, sextiling Pluto, and, you know, trining Neptune throughout the sequence, which is about detoxing, clearing out the digestive tract, fasting, clearing out the bowels, like getting rid of processed food. I think that people will really respond well to doing these things. And, you know, a lot of this is just Saturn and Neptune are now direct. As these planets have been getting ready to turn direct, you know, I mean, I got sick. I've been sick all week. So even somebody who knows that these things are coming and also is using natural remedies and stuff, I still get sick. The best way to move through this is to not get so mentally consumed with the Mercury Mars on fire into, you know, pure panic and manipulation and reading things or feeling like information that's coming in is the truth, because the truth is that we won't really know what's going on until Mercury's back into Capricorn. But you better believe that the second half of December into the new year, there's going to be lots of discussion about how this is going to impact colleges, Sagittarius, travel, right? Airplanes, international travel, laws, rules, and regulations. Now, apparently, from what I understand, the Supreme Court doesn't want to touch any of the potential cases involving mandates. They're not wanting to deal with it. They don't want to touch it. So I'm wondering, because this can be about judges and laws, if there's going to be such a push to see if they will take it, or if other, you know, I guess there are no higher courts really than the Supreme Court here in the United States, but you know, state courts and things like that, if they will start to kind of touch on some of these cases. I will be watching that. And then we're going to see on the 29th, Venus is going to enter into Sagittarius, so Venus changes signs. She spent really the whole first month, part of the month in Scorpio, pretty much the whole month. And this is a nice shift. It'll be nice to get Venus out of Scorpio, because the whole getting assaulted with the Jupiter-Uranus thing makes me feel like, finances are going to be very up and down this month, and there's going to probably be a lot of just surprises when it comes to paying our bills. But with Venus moving into Sagittarius, she's in a fire sign now, so she's definitely more external in her communications. She loves culture. She loves travel. She loves anything that's about education and philosophy and belief and things that are different. And so I think this is going to be a nice break. We will see with, this particular ingress down the road, you're going to start to kind of feel some of the squares to Saturn and also to Neptune. But this is a superior square. So this does kind of represent where, Sagittarius is about going and seeking the truth and getting that information and challenging all of this shadowy stuff that I think is intentionally being withheld or kind of concealed. Now, if you happen to be a native, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising this month, the Venus transits are really lovely for you. If it happens to be your natal Venus sign, Scorpio at least, you'll have your Venus return. Sagittarius, you might actually see this coming in January, but it can be a really wonderful time for like aesthetic changes, love, relationships, and socializing. Now, we're going to see on the 30th, Jupiter turns direct. Hooray! Although there is a bit of a delay with 5 degrees. I guess Jupiter in 5 degrees of Taurus takes a little bit of time for this to grow. But nevertheless, it does mean that there is some optimism on the horizon. We see some opportunity for growth. We might feel like we're moving forward in the Taurus area of our chart. It's going to go direct at 5 degrees, which can be about romance, taking chances, children, creativity. In particular, I think that there may be something that turns around in regards to the banking or financial markets. So there's that with Jupiter going direct. It's really great for my Sagittarius risings, obviously. My Pisces risings, having Jupiter direct is great for you guys. And that's pretty much it. So then it's going to take us to the 31st. We're going to see, is there anything going on the 31st? Not much. But what I will say is interesting, on the 31st, we're going to be seeing the moon trine Jupiter, trine the sun. So we have a nice Earth trine on the 31st. Not crazy about the Mercury-Mars conjunction still squaring Neptune. So I don't need to use astrology to tell you guys this, but obviously being under the influence and driving, it's not something you want to do, but you really don't want to do that this holiday. Because this tells me not only for issues with visibility, but also, being under the influence. Mercury-Mars can be about, mentally being impaired, driving a little too fast, and then experiencing issues with water or substances. We're going to see the moon come into an opposition with Saturn. Okay, so I see a lot of people being like productive on New Year's Eve, getting things in order, getting ready to do stuff, maybe getting ready to socialize. Venus is coming into a square with Saturn, so that is also kind of indicating it may be challenging to feel like we're able to socialize the way that we want to, or have all the things that we want, or there's some challenge or maybe some kind of delay in some capacity. But definitely a pretty busy day for New Year's Eve. So just as a reminder, that new and full moon, so the new moon's on the 12th in Sag, and the full moon is going to be on the 26th in Cancer. Really keep an eye out for that Mercury retrograde. Obviously, in January, we're going to see Mercury that's going to go direct. It's actually going to be on the 1st. So after a really radical Mercury retrograde, New Year's Day, we're going to see Mercury go direct. Okay, so that'll be kind of midday. So that's also about some kind of significant news coming out, probably involving Mars. I think we're going to hear a lot more about the future of travel and all that good stuff. But, we'll cover that next month. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this month. I might make January, the 2024 presentation. So I'll keep you guys updated on how that's going to look. But you can always come back here. You can see me throughout the month. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm doing videos during the week. That's kind of my astro musings. We'll talk about the full moons and some of the transits more in depth. I'm always here on Sundays doing the astro weather, so we can take a look at the bigger transits for the week, maybe pull some tarot cards, talk about what's happening and going down. But you guys can stay on the up and up with my videos if you're subscribed, so make sure you do that before you wrap this video. Give me a thumbs up and let me know, what do you guys think about the transits this month? What are you looking forward to? Are you a Sagittarius or a Capricorn? If so, and it's your birthday this month, happy birthday to you. I hope it's a good one. And you guys can catch me back here every Friday. We will be here throughout the month of December. We alternate every other week, from tarot or astrology. So make sure you check the community tabs on Thursdays. We'll post the links so you guys can sign up early if you guys would like to get a tarot or an astrology reading. Or you can also join my memberships and support my channel and help me be a full-time content creator. And included in the level 3 membership, you're going to get a reading from me every single month. So make sure you check that out if that's something that you would like to do. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I will catch you guys back here on Tuesday, and I'm excited to see what December has to offer all of us. Until next time, I'll see you very soon. Take care.